Welcome back to Cody's Movie Cave, where today we're going to be discussing the classic movie franchise, The Mummy, right? I mean, this was one of my all-time favorites when it came out. It was just a classic, okay? Really good. Brendan Fraser's, it's his star-leading breakout role that sort of put him on the map, and yeah, it was the first thing I had ever seen him in really come to life as a leading man type situation. And so, The Mummy is loosely based on the 1930s Universal Monster franchise. In that it was The Mummy, black and white version. Real good movie. I'm not knocking it, but this one is just more of it's less of horror and more of a straightforward action adventure Indiana Jones ripoff, right? It's I wouldn't say ripoff, but a riff rather. Brendan Fraser gets to get in on the action, and he plays this character Rick O'Connell, a dashing ex-soldier. Now he's sort of a explorer slash adventurer, if you will. And so the story somewhat is a little different in that it don't focus so much on just the mummy, but it has the human element of these characters as well. The Mummy, Imhotep, he's the main bad guy, the big bad, the heavy, as they say. He is it opens back in ancient Egypt, right? And so he is the high priest of the Pharaoh. And he's been fooling around with the Pharaoh's wife. Not cool at all. And so him and the Pharaoh's wife kills the Pharaoh. And so he runs off. They kill the Pharaoh's wife for what she did. And he gets to run off and tries to bring her back to life. But he winds up getting captured by the Pharaoh's guard and gets tortured beyond measure. He gets mummified, gets a curse placed on him, and that's where we leave Imhotep for now. And so fast forward to centuries later to the 1930s, I think is which it's set in, which is a nice little homage to the original movie. And this librarian who played magnificently by Rachel Weisz, it was one of her star-turning performances as well, comes in contact with a map, and she sets out to find this lost sort of Egyptian city. So she needs help, so she enlists Rick O'Connell, who is in prison at the time for having a good time, you know what I mean? He's a little bit of a ne'er-do-well. And but actually a fun little trivia for that scene when he's in the prison and he's being hanged, or hung rather, pardon my English, being hung, Brendan Fraser almost died filming that scene. Something went wrong, and he was actually doing the stunt himself, and he almost got choked out, which thankfully, we're thankful that Brendan Fraser did not die on the set of The Mummy. That would have been disastrous. Anyway, this is an exciting movie. It's got some scary stuff in it, It's not overly scary, though. It's more of geared, like I said, toward the adventure side of things. And so it's just a really cool movie, fun from start to finish, just real fun. So good that it immediately spawned a sequel that came out the year later, 2001, and it has The Mummy Returns. Some people didn't care for this movie. I loved it. I digged it. They amped up the action, they amped up the story, the characterization. They put Rick and Evie together, which is Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, and they actually have a son in this movie, in the sequel. And so, like I said, it's real fun, and we get more than just one antagonist in this movie. So it's not just Imhotep this time, it is the Scorpion King, which was The Rock's very first ever performance, his debut into Hollywood. And so, yeah, this movie was fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it could have been better. The CGI was lacking, but you got to understand, this was the early 2000s, right? You weren't going to get something real great like we get nowadays. Anyway, Mummy Returns, in my opinion, is good. It's not as good as the first, but it is good. Unpopular opinion probably, but whatever. Fast forward to 2008, so it's been quite some time since between the sequels. And we get The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. And okay, let me just say, I was excited when they announced this movie because it was the return of Brendan Fraser, Rick O'Connell, his great character, back into that world. But this sequel was crap, all right? Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor was crap. I actually agree with everybody on that one. It's just, you know, for one, we didn't have Rachel Weisz. She didn't return as Evie, which sucks anytime you recast a main character. And so she didn't return, and it's just, the story just feels bland. It just kind of sits there and doesn't really move. With that said, though, I mean, it did have some good action scenes, I will say that. But, you know, none of them is as good as the first, right? That's just a rule of thumb. That being said, you know, this franchise has had a massive following, and it's been a huge hit. You know, and then we got, what was a couple years ago, Universal tried to reboot the Mummy franchise, set it in modern times, and put Tom Cruise into it. It just didn't work. You know, it didn't have the heart that the other movies had. It didn't have the wit or the laughter that Brendan Fraser brought to these movies. It just did not work, okay? They should have left it buried in the sand, you know what I'm saying? But, in a bit of news that just recently came out, Brendan Fraser is on something of a comeback trail, right? He's on a big career comeback with his movie The Whale. And so he's been having a lot of press lately, a lot of interviews and such, and he's went on record as saying that he would be interested in returning to the role of Rick O'Connell in a legacy sequel. Now, that might be a cool concept, you know, bring this character back as, you know, more aged, more older, gruff, in sort of a legacy type situation. I could get behind that, you know, maybe fast forward it to a couple decades to the 40s or 50s and have it World War II set maybe, with some Nazis thrown in or something, kind of give it an Indiana Jones vibe. I could dig that. That being said, The Mummy is a fun movie. I love it. Might go watch it again right now. Who knows? Kind of feeling it. That's why I did this video. So yeah, you should definitely check it out if you hadn't seen it. Most people have, you know, unless you're living under a rock. It's on TV all the time. It's on HBO Max for free, so you got that option, guys. If you want to watch it, you can watch it for free on there. Like I said, catch it on TV anytime. If you want to buy or rent it, you can get it on Apple, Vudu, or Amazon, the big three. And as we say down here in the cave, it's been my opinion. Opinions are like butts. Everybody's got them. What was that? Some of them stink. I gotta go.